G'day Ron, you're back on the couch with Woody. This is another episode with On the Couch with Woody, and I'm very, very excited to introduce one of my good friends for quite some time and an amazing artist, Mr. Anthony Snape.
Hey,
How are you, brother?
really good.
Very good, thanks.
Great to be on the couch.
Yeah, on the couch with Woody. Mate, thank you for coming down. Let's get straight into it because we've got so much to talk about. But I always ask right from the outset in the beginning, can you tell me where music bit you? When the bug happened and what happened, where did that happen? Were you a little boy or an older teenager? You tell me.
My earliest memories were at school, actually, primary school, music class. Music always took me and made me move and made my imagination go wild. I didn't really understand why it made me feel, the things that I could feel through music. But I've got a couple of really early memories that may have been, you never really know what was the spark that pushed you into it, I don't think. But I've got a memory of being a kid going to school and listening to the radio with my mum in the kitchen cooking. And the radio announcer came on and they just played an Elvis song. And then the radio guy back announced, "That was the king, blah, 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 blah." And I remember distinctly asking Mum, why did they call him the king?
The king, yeah.
Right? And Mum was like, "Oh, love, I don't know, everyone likes his music and, he's got songs on the radio." And I remember distinctly saying to Mum, "Oh, I'm going to have songs on the radio one day too, Mum." And, she's like, "Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. Just go and play or whatever." But it was a distinct thing. And I don't know whether it was a knowing that that's what it was that I was going to do or whether I'd made the decision in that moment, that's what I was going to do. But around about the same time I've since found video footage of me having just a terrible little old guitar that someone had given me, and it wasn't in tune or anything, but it was me sitting on the back of a rocking horse, singing away. What song? Riding along, singing a cowboy song. Riding along, singing a song. Ole, 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 ole. I actually don't even know where that came from, and that memory's been buried in my head this whole time. And the video doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
So that's special just for you.
Yeah, maybe we should relaunch that and
you know
get
what?
another single or something.
Is that even a song? Can I register it?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Mate, that's exciting. And what's like, I know your story probably more than a lot of people because we met just crossing paths, in those sort of early 2000 years when, I'll say it bluntly, when Anthony left to go to America, and we'll talk about that dream and what happened when you went to America a little bit later, but when you left a wake of free gigs for me because Anthony Snape was finally gone from the cover scene, and Woody and his trio could just slide on in and take a lot of those Three Wise Monkey gigs and whatnot. And I know you had a residency there. And we've all cut our teeth on that sort of stuff. That's one thing I like to do when I do these shows is encourage young artists and people who are trying to find their way through. And, that old rubbish cliche, play covers, you're sold out. 99% of anyone who's worth their weight in gold has cut their teeth on other people's songs. What was that period of your life? Because that would have been your early 20s, I reckon, when you were doing that, was it?
Yeah, it was. So I'd moved from Gunnedah, where I was born, to Sydney. Actually, I moved because I was in something called the Talent Development Project.
I know it, at high school.
About that. Yep. It came through school. And it was a really stressful time, actually. A woman called Mary Lopez, who ran the program, was a selection process through public schools, and you had to go and audition. And thankfully, my high school music teacher, God, I owe a lot to that woman.
Yeah.
Miss Walpole. Teachers are so important. They really are, and because they can change the direction of kids, you know, at such an early age, and recognise things in kids and help support. And without that woman, I'm not sure I would have had half of the opportunities that I've been able to develop, you know, later in my life. But this woman gave me the opportunity to go and audition for this, you know, talent development project. And up until that point, I'd been playing in the musicals, and I'd been singing at all the, you know, the Gunnedah, you know, events, and you know, playing at all the charity functions, and also singing at weddings and things. My brother was playing drums and singing, and I was playing guitar and singing. We just had this duo that we would sell into weddings. Looking back on it now, I'm not sure how great that was, but people seemed to like it.
They enjoyed it.
And because there was a novelty of like these two kids, you know, playing music and you know, bringing people together around music, and obviously passionately loving it. And so the talent development project was a thing where you sort of came every month and then played in front of industry, a panel of industry people. And it was almost like, you know, the TV shows that are out now, The Voice, where you get up and, you know, there's 12 kids in this program, and they all get up and sing a song that they prepared for the last month. And it was so freaking stressful. It was unbelievably stressful, because what song do you choose, and what sort of angle do you want to take on this song? And at the time that I went through the program, it was very cabaret orientated, and they weren't doing any original music. And I'd been writing songs since I could make a noise on the piano. I remember telling stories on the piano. We always had a piano in our house. And I remember getting up and just writing stories about climbing mountains and things, and not knowing how to play the piano, not ever having lessons, but finding the chords and finding the notes that made you feel certain ways to match the story. I remember, you know, countless nights sitting at that piano playing intervals and just letting the feeling of those intervals sort of wash through me. So you kind of get a real close experience of what music is doing at different parts of the piano. And because music is such an integral part of who we are as human beings. And there's such a power that comes from being able to wield that, as you would know, because then you get out and you get to play, you know, other people's songs at weddings and at functions and stuff. And you see the power that music has to raise people up or help people through emotional times. And what always inspired me was being able to somehow find the stories that I had inside me and be able to use the music in a way that allowed me to feel that, you know, power, I suppose, but wield the magic of the universe. Somehow kind of pull this substance that we have all around us that's inside of everyone and be able to play with it like a kid.
So Gunnedah was home. So Gunnedah was where you were born and bred. Let's talk about the family. Like, what's the family dynamic? Is it mum, dad, brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got two younger brothers and mum and dad. Dad was a truck driver, used to get up really early in the morning and go. I used to go, you know, working with dad, but it kind of was working because his business was stock grain, gravel, and a whole range of, you know, whatever farmers needed at the time. Before he was a truck driver, he was a share farmer. So I have really early memories of that and living on properties and stuff like that, which is really freeing and lovely actually as a kid, getting out and playing in the dirt. You know, that there's something really, well, grounding from you coming from the dirt, you know, literally kids playing outside in the sun and the dirt and the rain and the
And were your mum or dad strong influences? They obviously played along. Were they musicians at all? You're the only...
No. So I think, well, mum was always singing something. She always had music playing. And so music was definitely something that she used to help her through having 3 little kids out in the middle of nowhere while Dad was away working, on the farm. And so Mum used music all the time as a way to, help her through her day and inspire her to be able to continue on doing what she did. So I was influenced by that for sure. And
when did your brother start drums? Because he was a drummer, was he? Or
well, I got the drum kit.
Yep.
And then put him on it because we needed to be able to make music. And both of my brothers, actually, my middle brother Tim, he played drums for a little while, and then for some reason we had a fight, and then from that day on he didn't want to play drums anymore, which was no good because he was really good at it, but he was just like, I'm done with this, and he never went into music. It's funny how little things like that can be a little turn. Then my younger brother was happy to play the drums, and so and at that point there was also some money involved, so you could go and play, and so he was able to come on and play a little bit. But
so when was the move from that world? Because that sounds just like a little prairie story. It sounds like a beautiful part of the world to grow up in.
Yeah.
It's safe, everyone knows each other in country towns. And even where we live, and not dissimilar to where you're living now, they are big country towns. You can walk down the street and you run into people you know all the time.
Yep.
When did you say, okay, I've got to do this music, I've got to go to Sydney? Well, or did you move to Sydney?
It was the TDP that brought me to Sydney.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had been travelling backwards and forwards. The community had sponsored flights for me, and also the Rotary Club, were huge supporters. They helped get me singing lessons with. Goodness, I wish I could remember his name right now. Anyway, cut that bit out. But basically supported me all the way along. And it was the school spectacular during my only performance at the school spectacular that I'd ever been in. I had a couple of solo spots, which was huge for me. I was singing in front of an audience that was the same size as the town that I grew up in. And so it was quite confronting, but a wonderful stepping stone for me. I met a family there who was happy for me to come and live with them in Gymea, actually.
All right,
not far from here.
Yeah.
And so that was my first move to Sydney, and then moved to Sydney and was like, all right, it's on.
Do it.
What do we do? And so in that time, I had I actually got a job at Ticketek.
Okay. Yep.
Because you kind of move to a big city and you kind of go, oh, what do you need? You need money. What do you do? And so I didn't have any gigs at that point, and had left my poor brother, who was used to doing gigs with me in Gunnedah. I was like, I've got to go to the city. And he talks about that time as being like a really vacant, hard time, because I'd left home.
He missed his big brother.
Yeah, and that was not something that I'd considered at the time, because when you've got the fire and you're like, it's time to go, you kind of just up and you go where you got to go. And then, so from there, I just was like, I was going to see a whole bunch of shows because of, the Ticketek part-time job. But then I was like, this is not what I want to do. I want to play music.
I want to be there. I don't want to be...
Yeah. I was seeing all these things. I'm like, no, I've got to be in the shows. And so it was a blanket approach for me. I messaged hundreds of agents, any agents I could find that booked shows, venues, and messaged everyone that I could possibly find. I went to all the APRA events. I went to all music events that I could find. I tried, I didn't even know that it was networking, but I went.
You were doing that.
Doing networking, meeting people, meeting other people that were in the same, boat as me, doing stuff. Club Acoustica in Sydney. Do you remember those guys?
Yeah.
It was a beautiful network of singer-songwriters that operated in the Sydney scene. And I think there was some main organisers that maybe coordinated and made the money out of everything, because everyone played for free most of the time, I think, or $50 here and there. But they had a whole range of venues, including the the Iguana Bar in King's Cross.
Yeah, I do remember.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was the Iguana Bar in King's Cross was where all of the musos would end up
After
their
a gig.
gigs.
Yeah.
And so you could go there and just meet.
Yeah.
Like everyone, there was a real scene in Sydney at that point because there were gigs and then there were after gigs.
So I'm reading, try not to read too much in it, but was it around that time you met your beautiful wife?
Yes.
Yeah,
So Ticketek, actually. Yeah, she worked at Ticketek. And that's where Karen and I met, and I actually trained her in the thing, which was lovely.
How to sell Bon Jovi tickets?
Yeah. This is how you do this and stuff like that. Yeah. So that was great. It all kind of blossomed from there, and to fast forward from there, so I ended up getting some gigs through. Most of the messages sent out to agents and stuff went nowhere, absolutely nowhere. There was a couple of agents that got back to me, one in Sydney and one in Newcastle. The Newcastle opportunity came through because my cousins, the Snape brothers, had been musicians for 30 years in Newcastle.
Okay, there you go.
And they had an expansive history of playing in that area. And the agent that got my message, just randomly, I didn't even know it was him, was a guy called Steve Hicks, who they called Tiny because he was a big dude. And he was just like, all you really need is just a few gigs. And so
Gotta get you started.
at the same time, he threw years worth of shows at me in Newcastle for solos and then up to band, and so I threw a band together with some people that I knew. In fact, there was a teacher that used to work at Menai High School, Robert Lindsay.
Rob Lindsay, I know Rob.
You know Rob?
Yep, he was one of my
coaches. So Rob was one of the guys who brought me, I lived with him.
Yeah, because he's connected with the TDP. That's how that would have been the connection.
Yep. So there you go. So Rob connected me with a few different people, and there's a whole bunch of opportunities that came out of that. So as a young vocalist, I was then introduced to a bunch of radio people, and I started singing jingles.
Right.
And I started singing jingles from on 2UE and on some of the other talkback stations.
Yeah.
But I was only a kid. And so I remember the first time I went in and met a guy called Peter Kokura, who was doing, I forget the main station that he was working on first before he worked at 2UE. But he was working for, I think, Alan Jones or someone else. And I think he was tied up with the TDP as well.
Yeah.
And went in to sing on a thing, and this guy, like this dude sitting behind the desk, amazing, powerful position to be in, and this kid walks in, and this guy has used all of the session singers in Sydney, and he calls them whenever he wants, the best. And before I sing a note, he's like, look, I use all the best session singers. They work really quickly. I'm gonna treat you like I treat them, and I'm gonna ask you to sing the things that I need you to sing. This thing we're about to work on is something that Erina Clark is about to come and sing on. Now, Erina Clark was like one of the top level session singers in Sydney. And I think she was a judge on Idol at some point or whatever, or one of the main singer people. And so I walked in from Gunnedah, dust on my shoes still probably, and walked into the studio, and this dude's gone, you're working with the best female session singer in Sydney, and she's going to come in and sing after you put your parts down. So this has to be good. So I'm stressed.
No pressure.
No pressure. And so he treats me, I think, even like harder than he would usually treat, because I'm a kid, right? I'm totally pliable. And so I sing my ass off in this session and do all the things that he wants. And I'm like, at the end, he's doesn't give me anything, gives me nothing except for like, all right, we're done. Later that night, I get a call from Peter, and he goes, listen, I just played what we did today to my wife, and my wife has just told me that I needed to call you to say how good you were,
voice is.
and that you're absolutely on the right track, and we're going to get you back in to do X, Y, Z stuff, and basically just was like, you're on the right track. And that little moment there changed and helped me understand where I could fit in the industry at that point, and where I could, move forward, and what I could build from, and what was expected. Like, I was expected to work at this level from the get-go, and it really made a difference. And I worked for Peter, like, from that day onwards, like, and he would call me at midnight when he started working for Lawsy. He'd call me at midnight after some news event would happen, and he would have written the song about the news event for the next morning, and he'd call me at midnight and go, can you come and do a vocal for this thing? And I'd be like, yeah, Peter. And I was living at Petersham, and I'd get in the car and I'd drive to Turramurra and jump in his studio, and we'd sing, and he'd be like, layer the harmonies, and so we're like, boom, 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 all the harmonies would go down and stuff, and then, by 2, 3 a.m. in the morning it was done, I'd go home, and then it would be on the radio at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Well, that's so interesting, because like what you're saying there is, that's the way it is in the States, that's the way it is in anywhere of the elite of these artists that we see, and we go, wow, how amazing they are. There's a reason why they're like that. And what you just said, that turning point, I'm so glad you had the victory that day, because it could have gone south for you and could have went the other way, but it didn't.
Know. As a kid, you were influenced.
100%.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, when you talked about earlier about the fire, and let's go into that, because doing the radio jingles, doing the cover scene, doing the free singer-songwriters, every artist I know that's got their even a smidge of integrity and work ethic has done all that stuff, right? You have to grind it out in the early days. It's kind of like cutting your teeth, that's one word for it, but more importantly, it's somebody telling you, how bad do you want this? Where did the fire turn to say, I need to be Anthony Snape? Was it the trip to America? Let's go into the Tommy Emmanuel thing. Or was it before that you'd made a conscious decision?
I was definitely before that. And I remember the day that it happened. I was opening for Marsha Hines in the Hunter Valley. And that night I had a gig at the Three Wise Monkeys with the band. Both of those gigs were covers gigs, right? So I went and I played the Marsha gig, and it was a 45-minute set, or I think they had me play an hour or whatever it was. I got out there, beautiful, big stage, big PA, audience sitting on, the grass and all having picnics and stuff. Got out there and sang my ass off, and audience erupted and reacted the way it was. Then Marsha, said to me on the way out that she thought it was great, whatever. I jumped in the car, literally came off the stage, jumped in the car, took off. A friend of mine had done the first set for me. And by the time I got to the gig, the place was pumping. I jumped out there and I sang my ass off at this gig. Place packed to the rafters with backpackers and all of the people that would go out and party in Sydney at those times. Just what you'd imagine, like the bar rocking and everything going on. And I remember standing out the edge of the stage singing probably an In Excess song or something, and singing out there at the top of my lungs and seeing everyone's faces and feeling the absolute kind of joy of what it feels like to be a singer in front of an audience, and being out there and just, there was a click and it was like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
Yeah.
I remember being out there like in the middle of a note going, yeah, and here it is, there's a crowd. I had a massive crowd that day and I was there. Like, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I was going after. What is it? What is it? And after that, like that day I was like, oh. And I think I made almost immediate changes. Like that day I was like, oh, okay, what is it that we need to do? And it was around about the same time that I'd met Lindsay Rhymes
Yep.
because I was still playing all the Club Acoustica gigs and stuff. So that was all original music. So I was writing as much as I could, as well as working, playing the covers gigs, writing all sorts of different songs in vast, stretches of different genres and stuff. Because as a singer, I can sort of dip my toes into all sorts of different places, and just enjoying that. And I met Lindsay Rhymes at, I think it was called, I can't remember, it had a really funny name, like Rock Tarts or something like that.
Yeah, right.
At a venue on Parramatta Road. And I'd gone in and my band was playing after Lindsay's band. And it wasn't even Lindsay's band, it was another guy who's an actor now in LA. But Lindsay was on stage playing in this band, and they did their set and it was okay. But Lindsay Rhymes, he was playing guitar, he was singing a little bit of backing vocal, but this guy had like this vibe about him. I was like, who the hell is that dude? Like, just the coolest sounding chords. How do you make a G chord sound that cool? Like, it just sounded great. And I remember after his set, I was like, it's almost like a man crush, I suppose.
Yeah.
But a musician man crush. And I went up to him and was like, hey man, how you going? And he was like Lindsay is. He's like, yeah, he doesn't even know his own, thing. I'm like, yeah, man, should we do some writing? Yeah, man, let's do some writing, So I hooked up with him then and went and wrote with him the next week, wrote Frequency.
Well, let's let you. See, I'm staying ahead of this conversation because I was just about to introduce this. By far, my favourite Anthony Snape song. I know it's probably, am I correct in saying it's probably your biggest hit for popularity? Like, as in, just because we'll talk about
probably because
streaming.
it's been the one that's been out there the longest.
Okay, well, let's play that now just to break up the interview.
Sure.
And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Tommy thing, and then more importantly, just the streaming, how that evolved. Because that, mate, I take my hat off to you, my friend. How many? What have we done? How many shows?
I think it was 215 this last.
Okay, we'll do the song first, just so everyone can hear.
Can I play it live?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
please. Can we do Frequency now?
I'd love to.
Okay,
yeah,
let's do it. All right, cool.
I don't need to be treated this way no more. All I've got frequency I know, where the picture comes and goes, and the static in my head, all the words that you once said, and the waves come crashing in, yeah, the cycle starts again. In spite of what goes wrong, you're the frequency I'm on, yeah. You're the frequency I'm on. Alright, yeah. You're the frequency I'm on, yeah. Hey!
Yeah!
Woo!
Awesome, brother. Wow, well, it is even better live, my friend. So the biggest thing I want to get out of that one is you can hear us talk about music and how passionate we are, especially about songwriting. But when you get to see Anthony Snape and be in the same room with him and hear him sing and play, man, it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Every time, mate.
Thanks,
I never
brother.
get bored. All right, cool. Let's fast forward now to the period, because we looked at all of those first parts of your life and where you shaped yourself and all the jobs you did to put bread on the table. But let's look at the wonderful man without a certified guitar player. There's only about 3 or 4 of them in the world. A CGP, he is. And I heard the other day, which you can confirm, that when they pass, they're not going to pass that mantle on. But that is Tommy Emmanuel. He doesn't need introduction. But how did you meet him and how did you get the gig? Everyone wants to know, and tell us the experience overseas.
Well, Tommy is a beautiful human being and one of the truest musicians that you'll ever meet. So he uses his ears and his heart to bolster and lift up people everywhere he goes. He's the kind of guy who always keeps, cash in his pocket so he can give it to the guy busking on the street. He is always on that. He's lifting everyone as he goes, everywhere he goes. It's unbelievable. I haven't met another human being like him. Incredible human. I was fortunate enough to come across his path when I'd just put together my first record, and I'd been through and just won the Music Oz Awards for some songs from that record. And I was looking at places that I could, have that music land. I was sending songs to film and TV guys. I was sending the album to managers and to people all over the place. And I had a lady called Jane Robertson in Tamworth helping me find some of those connections and places to send it. It was a shotgun approach to an artist that had just put together a record with Matt Fell and Lindsay Rhymes.
Yep.
Spent a bunch of money on making that happen. All of the songs were written in the time leading up to that, and it was around 2006, 2007 when that all came together. And a package landed on Tommy's manager's desk that had my CD in it. And Tommy's always on tour. He's always either driving somewhere or flying somewhere or doing whatever. This particular time, he was doing an inland tour in America. He lives in Nashville. And his manager took my record on the trip and said, listen to this, put the record on. And Tommy loved it. Frequency was the one.
Frequency, 100%, man.
Okay, Frequency opened the door. And he heard the record and said to his manager, we've got to get this guy over here. And so she sent me an email, which I still have somewhere.
You've got one of it in a gold frame.
Right? This email came through, and my wife and I are living in Concord at the time. She is working in finance and banking system. Quite a good job. And this email comes through, Tommy's heard your record, would love you to give you the opportunity, would you be interested in coming to America and opening for his shows for next year?
Yep.
And so it was like, holy smokes, like this opportunity. So I said to Karen, what do we do? And Karen was like, well, this doesn't happen very often, so I think we've got to do it. And so we started planning.
Yep.
And that was the opportunity that came up, and had to work on visas and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
It was a matter of just saying yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, you toured for, what was it, a year or 2 years with him, with that kind of setup? Because I was always watching you from a distance, trying to just keep up, because
I toured on and off over there in America with him, and through Europe and UK and
right.
Different parts of the world for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then, which is just mind-blowing for me to hear that, amazing opportunity to learn from the greatest, amazing opportunity to call him a good friend, to still to this day. But you have so much respect from people like Rick Price, who I'm a massive fan of. I saw Rick Price play a gig in Wollongong, not far from where you live. And I remember him just strumming the guitar and playing. Some guys, Rick, you're the man. And he goes, yes, I am. You know, with his dry sense of humour. Yes, I am. And then he sings, okay, everyone understands how good this guy is. So look him up as well, Rick Price, for our overseas guests. Rick Price, Tommy Emmanuel, and you will look up Anthony Snape after this interview. But let's go on to not talk about, I'm feeling the vibes of good energy here. I don't want to talk about, we've all gone through hardship. As you know, as being an artist, the poet needs the pain. But in reality I want to talk about is, let's not go down that road. Let's go down the road of, we went through COVID and what happened, the catastrophic result of that. Yep. Was that the catalyst to come home? Because...
No, actually, just we came back because of kids.
Oh, good.
Wanted kids to come to have an upbringing here in Australia, which is really great, and also to be close to grandparents and all that sort of stuff, which
to
is
help build a tribe.
Absolutely. So that was what happened. And then COVID happened, like literally the 12 months after that happened. So we it was very fortunate actually to be back then.
And let's talk about, from that spawned, like the same as our radio program that we're on with this one, Central Coast Radio. A streaming platform that happened to keep people connected through COVID. You, with all your grace, power and integrity as an artist, decided, how do I reach my fans and build fans? Started a streaming show, a weekly 2-hour show, or was it 1 hour?
It was an hour.
An hour?
Well, it was...
It depends.
It was depending on how much... I mean, we had lots of time in COVID. Like,
yeah.
I think a few of them go a bit longer, 2 hours maybe.
But I was there right from the beginning. I was one of the early ones to watch it. And then, I used to look forward to it every Wednesday or Thursday or Monday, whenever you did them. Who knows? I can't remember. Yeah. But it was great to just make a comment and have a laugh and listen to your music. But how many shows have you done with that? And let's promote that show now, because you're still doing it.
So you can find the show on Facebook, or you go to my website anthonysnape.com and put your email in there, and you'll be able to find the show. I've been mainly streaming it on YouTube at the moment because Facebook's been a bit weird, but I keep getting these copyright things, constantly.
And it's all original material.
It's all original.
Yeah.
It's always been original. Anyway. So it's been challenging, but every single week I have put on a show since then. We haven't missed a week.
Have not missed a week.
So we've got a pretty cool record. We did our 200th show in Tamworth.
I was there. It was fantastic.
You were there. You came on and played some songs, which was really cool. And it was got some beautiful messages from people. I've had some incredible people on the show over that COVID period. Ben Butler, holy smokes, that man plays guitar for Sting. Yeah. and everyone else lives in New York. Incredible player. It was really fun. The show that I had Ben Butler and Tommy Emmanuel on at the same time, like Ben is a massive Tommy Emmanuel fan and Tommy's a massive Ben fan. And in fact, when I played the Tommy show in New York, Tommy was doing his show at BB King's, and I asked him if I could take a band, because it's Tommy on his own. I was like, can I open with a band? And he's like, yeah, sure, you can open with a band. And so I said, I want to find someone. And so Tommy put me in touch with Ben. And then Ben put together the band for me in New York.
Wow.
And so I had the best New York players playing for me in this gig at BB King's. And it was the first experience. I got experience in Nashville, like sessions where I'd gone in and, people play a brand new song and it sounds like a record. Incredible. But when I walked into the New York session for the one rehearsal on the day of the show, right, walked into the session, the guys were like, all right, we've got your record. And little did I know, they'd contacted the producer and gotten the stems of the record as well. So the keyboard player was triggering the nuanced parts from the record. So when it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, you're in, it was the record. I was playing with 4 other players and all of the sounds that were coming at me, all of the nuanced sounds that were on the record were there, and the players were incredible. It was one of the most amazing sessions of like rehearsal sessions that I'd ever experienced. And so then later on that night, went and slammed the gig.
That would have been electrifying.
Unbelievable. And that night, the guitar, oh goodness, that night, it was Les Paul's birthday. Okay, Les was still around. Okay, Tommy was invited to go and play at Les Paul's birthday because Les Paul had a show. There was an ongoing show in New York that happened every couple of weeks or whatever it was. It was a world famous thing that happened constantly while he was still around. And Tommy said to me that night, he said, "Oh, do you mind just playing a little bit longer and hold just in case I don't make it back in time for his set at BB King's."
Yeah, right.
Right? Tommy's sold out show at BB King's. Tommy's off at Les Paul's birthday party, right? And I have one of the best bands in the country, in the world,
1, 2, 3, Sweet Home Alabama.
playing with me at BB King's. And Tommy's like, "Do you mind holding the show off a little bit longer for me?" And I'm this kid from Gunnedah. Like, come on, it's insanity stuff that happens, and it happened, and so that was an incredible pinch yourself moment and a special moment in time because, as you know, Les Paul's not around anymore, and that little and BB King's isn't there anymore.
Right. Well, let's go on to which is great. Let's just talk quickly about the Cole Clark signature Anthony Snape edition.
Oh yes,
because it's really important. I mean, I champion Maton and I also champion Pratley, which is I don't have it here, but that's okay. Usually I get people to play on the Pratley, the Woody Pratley, I call it. But basically, this is your signature edition. Now, for all those people who don't know, Cole Clark are within the top 3 guitar manufacturers. There's Maton, Cole Clark, and also Pratley are the top 3 in the country for selling. I'm just talking about selling units. But let's talk about this beautiful piece, which they heard in the frequency. But describe very quickly what it is and how people can get it, because we need to keep this AS model out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's even got AS there, which is great.
Yeah. Well, the models that you get that are the Snape model have Snape written on the top.
Okay, cool.
So this is the first one that they made. This is mine. But this is one of the most incredibly innovative. Like fair enough, I'm biased, but without me being attached to this instrument, this is one of the most innovative instruments to play as a singer-songwriter.
Yep.
Because it gives you incredible versatility, especially as a solo player, because you're able to, if you're into looping and stuff, you can set up vibes and loop on the acoustic, and rhythmically, you've got the full range of an acoustic guitar in this instrument. And then you can add all the tonal, qualities, solos, colouring that you want from one instrument in one go. Yeah. It's one of the most exciting instruments that I've ever come across. And if I could have had this when I first started, like this, it's like this instrument was made for me. Well, this one was made for me.
Yeah, but the actual purpose,
the actual design of this instrument is absolutely perfect for somebody who loves the sound of an acoustic guitar. but also loves to bring in tones of electric and might want to distort something sometimes, to follow the emotional, flow of a song.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to take an audience?
Yeah. That's
It's the most incredible instrument I've ever owned.
Well, we're going to hear it. We're going to hear it again in another song. We'll finish off the show with the song you decide what you want to play.
Okay, cool.
Because I want you to make sure you do that. But let's just quickly talk about how people can reach you.
Yeah. You can get that on my website.
Okay.
You can exclusively buy that through me or Cole Clark.
Through AnthonySnape.com.
You can get those.
So all your
directly from
socials,
me.
all your YouTube, your Instagram, everything is it all just Anthony Snape?
Yeah, it's all Anthony Snape. But go to AnthonySnape.com.
And there's links for everything.
That's your lift.
That's where we want to go, to learn more about that. Now, just before we go as well and finish off with a song, let's just talk about, which excites me, being a crossover country artist, 100% now. I always have been, but in my heart and soul, but I've started to shape my own brand that way. Can we talk about it? Are we allowed to ask that you're doing a country album?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, I write a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And in fact, I wanted to quickly touch on the fact that I've been writing a lot with fans lately as well. I've been giving fans an opportunity to bring their stories to life.
Great.
So I've always done it naturally.
Yeah.
You go to gigs and you play house concerts and you get to know people.
100%.
And people share their stories with you and they end up in a song somewhere, right? But there's nothing more powerful than somebody having something to say, which has happened quite a lot, where a fan will approach me and say, listen, I've written a poem for my wife and I would love for that to be a song. And in the past, the artist in me has gone, well, that's great. I can kind of help you, get to a point, but I would step back from it and, let them do the thing. But what I found is I can use my talents and my, the skills that I have to empower that moment. And so I've been offering that to all my fans lately.
Awesome.
To give them an opportunity for me to either help them write and finish a song and take it through to production.
Yep.
So at the end of it, they've got something beautiful they can take for their family.
Wow.
And it, like on the online show that I do, I also have a patron side of that, where I present a brand new song I write a song every week for my patrons.
Yep.
And it could be anything, and it could be all sorts of different genres and stuff. But last week, one of my fans became a grandparent for the first time.
Yep.
So I wrote a beautiful little lullaby for them.
Yep.
And that was the song that was presented. And
we've learned from the best, mate. You're doing.
It's using music, right?
To be a good human.
The skills that we have in playing with music, we're utilising this power to actually push out into the community and give the music to people that can utilise it in their lives. And it's not just commercial kind of selling ads on a radio station or music for, particular slots. It's music for, families. It's music for people's lives, which is, what songs are all about. The music that plays within us all.
That's right.
And so I've been really enjoying helping people bring their stories into a song or into music that resonates with their family on forever.
Well, that's amazing, mate. And thank you for being so gracious for your time today, because I know
worries.
you're a busy man like all of us. But at the end of the day, I just want to let you know that you're so genuine, you're authentic, you're super talented. But I'm very happy, Matt and I, when we talk about these interviews as fulfilling for us as they are for you, hopefully, to give your story.
It's been awesome.
We can put it on, it can be there forever, it can be online. That is on the Speedy Tech YouTube channel, if you've seen that. But we'll also give you this content if you need it for your own story or whatever concept you need. Oh, but mate, it's been wonderful to have you here. Let's finish off with a song. What are you going to play us? Give me anything you like. It could be a new single, or it could be something that you haven't shown the world yet that you know.
Yeah, let me play something a little country. Okay. So this one's called "Waking Up Without You," and it's a fan favorite and probably one of the first country songs that I wrote in Nashville.
Awesome.
waking up without you. Something I can't get used to. I remember a promise, you'll always be there. Underneath my heart's heavy, way down by your memory. What can I do? How will I get through waking up without you? And the nights are so long when you sleep alone. All I can dream of is you. I can never get used to waking up without you. Side of the bed, lonely feels the space, the place where your head lay is untouched and cold. Not even the sunrise can warm up this room. I'm lost and I'm broken, waking up without you. And the nights are so long when you sleep alone. All I can dream of is you. I can never get used to waking up without you. The nights are so long when you sleep alone. All I can dream of is you. I can never get used to waking up without you. Waking up without you.
Thank you, my friend.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, my friend.
Cool.
Well done.
That was cool.
Lovely.
Thank
Cracking
you.
song.
Awesome.
It sounded good as
That's
well.
a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming,
Appreciate
mate.
you
We'll do
guys.
it again in 12 months. I mean, hopefully you've
All
got a
right.
song that's nominated for the GGs.
Yeah, well,
then,
probably not this year.
Not this year, but the year after. Yeah, it takes a while.
we shall see. We shall see how things.
How old's that song?
That was is that on the last record? Do you remember?
I can tell you.
Is it on that one? Or did
No.
oh yeah.
Was that the one we had to leave off?
No, I think it may be on the previous record. So I think I wrote that with
Phil Barney.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, Phil? No, I've heard the name.